Hey you guys, what's up? I am back with another Colourpop collection review. They've been coming out with so many launches. Literally, my last few videos have all been Colourpop collection reviews. So yeah, we have another new collection to try out today. This is the Colourpop Ice Cream Bites collection. This collection has brand new quad eyeshadows in it. I do have 4 of the palettes that I'm going to be swatching for you guys. I'll show you close-ups and then I'm going to be creating these 2 eye looks with the palette. So I hope you guys are all excited about today's video. If you are, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you're not already. And yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So the first thing we're gonna do is go over all of the palettes that they sent me. Colourpop did send me this collection, so a big thank you to them. So I do have 4 of the palettes that I'm gonna show you guys close-ups of, and we're gonna swatch all of the shades. All right, so we have the brand new Colourpop Ice Cream Bites collection. So there are gonna be 6 brand new quads. They did send me over 4 of the versions of the quad. So first up here, I have Rainbow Sprinkles, which is pressed glitters in pastel, pink, lavender, and opal. The packaging is very nice. It feels nice and sleek. First, we have the shade Sugar Ice. That is actually a really stunning glitter. Next, we have Yes Please. Obviously, this palette is for you if you like pressed glitters. If not, do not get this one because the entire palette is pressed glitters, but they are very pretty. Then we have the shade Candy Coated. Love the pink undertones to that glitter. And lastly, we have Malt Melt. That one's pretty similar to the last shade, but it's a little bit more purple. Let me show you guys the glitters nice and close. So here are the shades from the Rainbow Sprinkles palette. Next up, we have Extra Toppings, which is mattes and metallics and pinks and chocolate cherry. I can already tell that this palette's probably gonna be my favorite because I love shades like this. So first up is the shade Toasted Marshmallow. Then we have Top Off. Not impressed with the swatches of the metallics so far, but the shades themselves are pretty. Extra Cherries. That one actually swatched very nicely. And Chocolate Drizzle. So there are the 4 shades from the Extra Toppings palette. Next up we have Gimme Sugar, which is mattes and metallics in lavenders and lime. Where is the lime in here? I'm very confused where the lime is. Maybe there's some lime glitter. I guess I'll have to see when I swatch these shades, but that's just what the info card says. So here are a close-up of the shades in the palette. Still not seeing any lime, but there's lime green, little sprinkles on the packaging. So first up we have Whipped Cream. That one swatched better, I feel like, than these 2 metallic shades. It felt a little bit creamier. Next is Gummy Bears. This is a very pretty kind of neon purple shade. Sour Candy. And Blackberry Bliss. This shade feels a little chunky. Not sure how I feel about that, but there is the Gimme Sugar palette. And the last palette that they sent over is the Waffle Cone palette, which is matte and metallics in mint and warm browns. This palette just makes me hungry for some mint chocolate chip ice cream. So first up we have Minty Dream. I'm literally just running out of room on my arm, and I really wanted to show you guys all of the palettes on one arm swatched. I always do this. I always put them too far apart. That shade did not swatch the greatest. Then we have Chocolate Swirl. We're just gonna keep going up the arm. I hope that's okay with you guys. Oh Fudge. That one actually had pretty good pigmentation. And the last shade is called Chippy. Ooh, that one looks very nice. I am so sorry for these terrible swatches, but I really wanted to show you guys all of the palettes that I have swatched on one arm. So there is the minty palette, we have the purple palette, the pink palette, and then the glitters. So it looks like the only palettes that I didn't get are the triple scoop palette, which are mattes and metallics in rose, golds, and corals, which sounds like it would be right up my alley, so I'm sad I didn't get that one. And then I also don't have Sundae Funday, which is mattes and metallics in yellows and pinks. So now that you guys have seen all of the palettes swatched, let's move on to the demo part of the video where I'm going to show you guys how I created these 2 eye looks. So I went ahead and applied some primer to this eye. I'm going to be doing 2 different eye looks, as I said, so I think I'm going to kind of mix and match the palettes. So first up, I'm going to take this kind of medium brown shade from the Extra Toppings palette, and I'm just going to kind of map out the shape of my crease. So this doesn't have to be like precise or anything. It can be kind of messy because we're gonna blend it out. So now I'm gonna take the kind of rosy shade and I'm just gonna start blending this like directly above the brown. This is where I'm gonna kind of try and keep the blending a little more tight and precise and kind of clean up the edges like just a little bit so the shape is a little bit cleaner, because right now it's like super messy of a shape. Now I'm gonna jump over into the Minty palette and take this kind of like light brown, and I'm just gonna very lightly start blending this above the lash shade. I just kind of add a little bit onto my brush and then tap it off and then lightly blend. With this shade, I wanna kind of like diffuse it out to a very light, kind of like warm shade. I don't want it to be too dark here. So I went ahead and added some concealer all over the lid. It doesn't have to be perfect. Now we're gonna add some shimmery shades to the lid. I think I'm gonna use both of the shimmery shades from this palette right here, which is the Extra Toppings palette. So I'm first gonna take the lighter shade and I'm gonna just start popping this all on the inner corner. I feel like this shimmery shade I kind of need to wet my brush with, and honestly that never happens with Colourpop's metallic formula, so I'm a little bit shocked right now. I never have to wet my brush with Colourpop shadows, so it's just not as, I don't know, creamy and soft as some of their other shades. Like, it's not bad, but it's just not as good as usual, I guess, but the shade is pretty. Now I'm gonna pick up the darker shade, and I'm just gonna start applying this to the rest of the lid. So I think for this eye, we're just gonna keep it kind of boring and simple. I'm just gonna start pressing that dark brown all underneath the lower lash line that I used to like carve out my crease. And then I'm gonna kind of blend like the other shades below it. We're not gonna do anything crazy on this eye. We're gonna keep the colorful shades for the other eye. And honestly, I really wanna use the glitter palette, but my problem is I don't know if you guys can tell, I have like a little bit of eye irritation right now. You can probably tell right there. So I'm kind of like hesitant to go in with any glitters, because if that gets in my eye, it can just irritate my eye even more. So I really want to try out the glitters, but I'm honestly just like really nervous. So I think it's probably in my best interest if I don't use the glitter palette. Last time I used a glitter in the inner corner, it went in my eye when I was like taking my makeup off. So I don't know if I want to risk that today, but yeah, I'm just gonna blend these shades kind of nice and boring on the lower lash line. All right, so here is eye look number 1 complete. It's a very kind of just like simple, everyday, wearable type of look. Now we're gonna jump over into some of the colorful shades. So I'm first gonna start out with the dark brown from the Waffle Cone palette. And once again, I'm going to kind of just draw out my crease. This is what I like to do with the darkest shade. And since this shade is like very dark, I'm gonna try and be a little more precise than I was on the other eye, because that was like a lighter brown for the last look. So now I'm gonna take this bright purple from the Gimme Sugar palette, and I'm just gonna start blending this right above the brown. Also, I'm gonna try and be careful with this shade because it is like super bright. It's almost like a kind of neon-ish type purple, like a very vibrant purple. Now I'm going to take the very light purple, which is like almost a lavender, and I'm just going to start blending this right above the lash shade once again. We're going to use this purple to kind of diffuse the edges. Once again, I added some concealer to the lid. Now I'm going to use these 2 kind of purpley shades from this palette, starting with the lighter one, and then we'll use the darker one for the outer part of the eye. So we're going to pop this lighter one right on the inner half of the lid. This shimmery shade definitely seems to be much creamier than like the shimmery shades from the other palette that I used on my other eye. Now we're going to apply the darker shade on the outer part of the lid. I feel like this shade's a little chunky, so I'm a little nervous. Like, it just feels a little dry. So I feel like it does kind of flake and give you a little bit of fallout, but the shade itself is very pretty. So since this is my like colorful eye, we're gonna go a little bit crazy now. And I'm gonna take this beautiful like dark mint shade, and I'm just gonna start pressing this along the lower lash line, then I'll kind of blend it out. Now I'm going to take the shimmery mint shade and we're just going to pop this in the inner corner. Ooh, that is a very pretty shade. All right, so here is eye look number 2 complete. I'm actually very happy with how both eye looks turned out. I feel like a lot of the times I'm not usually happy with like both looks that I create when I do multiple looks with a collection. I'm just trying to like gather my thoughts with how I'm feeling about this launch. Colourpop launches so many collections, as you guys know. I think my last like 3 videos have been like Colourpop launches. So I don't think that these are the most like innovative or amazing things ever. I'm not super big into quads just because I never really use like a quad like this, like I don't know, on its own. I always find myself wanting to mix and match palettes because just looking at like this palette, I feel like I could create like a look with just this palette alone. Obviously you can't really do that with the glitter palette. That one's like just to be used on its own. Let's see. I could probably do one with the mint palette. Actually, you know what? I'm sitting here looking at these. I could definitely create looks on their own with each of these palettes. I just personally like to use more than 4 shades normally for an eye look, but that's just like a personal preference. If you like only using a few shades for a look, then you might really like these quads. I personally have so many eyeshadow palettes, so if I wasn't sent these, I would not have picked this collection up. I do think it's a cute collection. I'm dying to know what the other 2 palettes look like because I'm sure one of those I'm really gonna like because it's like corals and pinks. I could definitely do without the glitter palette. I'm just not super big into pressed glitters. I think they can add a fun touch to a look. They're just such a pain to get off and they can be very messy. My whole arm is like covered in glitter from swatching those. I do think that the mint palette is super cute. I also really like both the pink and the purple palette. I think surprisingly I like these 2 palettes like mixed together a lot. I wasn't sure how I was going to feel about this color combo, but I'm actually really like pleasantly surprised with how it turned out. I think these are cute palettes, but do I think you guys need them? Definitely not. Colourpop has so many launches. I know some of you guys are like overwhelmed with all of these. I do think that the collection is cute, but I don't think it's like a necessity. I think that some of their other launches have been a little bit more exciting, like the Powerpuff Girls collection that I just reviewed. So yeah, I do like this collection. I think it's cute, but I don't think it's like the best. I found that some of the shades in the palette were a little bit inconsistent. I thought that all of the mattes actually performed really nicely. I didn't notice that with the mattes, but I did notice it with the metallic shades. The metallics in this palette were not as creamy and like soft as their normal metallics. Even like the green metallic in this palette when swatched and when you just touch it, it feels a little bit drier than like the metallic like this one in this palette. This one is also like a little bit dry and crumbly, which is very weird for Colourpop metallics because that's like my favorite metallic eyeshadow formula is Colourpop's. So I just feel like some of the shades were a little bit inconsistent between the palettes, so just keep that in mind. So yeah, those are all of the palettes that I have from the Ice Cream Bites collection. I hope this video was helpful for you guys. I wish I had the other 2 palettes to review for you, but unfortunately I only have these 4, but I am super grateful that Colourpop sent these over. So I hope the swatches and the looks were helpful for you guys. Let me know what you guys think about this collection in the comments down below. So that is it for today's video. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. If you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you're not already. Also make sure you have your notifications turned on, that way you don't miss out on any of my future videos. All you have to do is click the bell next to the subscribe button and then you'll receive a notification every time I upload a new video. And I will see you guys in my next video. Thank you so much for watching.